Hello and welcome to OT, the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, rockets to the moon, and everything in between. My name's Phil Schultz.
And I'm Andy Green. Felix, how's it going, mate?
Oh, what a time to be alive, frankly.
Indeed.
It's an exciting week in the world of horology.
Yeah, watch fairs are back, Watches and Wonders, Geneva. What's the atmosphere on the ground like, Felix?
We'll get to that in a second, but I think before we get to the atmosphere on the ground, we need to get the atmosphere in the sky. And I can't think of any better people to do that with than Georges Kern, the CEO of Breitling.
None other.
The company behind one of the most famous aviation watches ever made, the Navitimer, which, as everyone is, of course, aware, has been the subject of an extensive and sophisticated remake. We chatted to Georges. Well, I chatted to Georges a little while ago. So, we've got to get in the virtual time machine.
He was in Australia. So
yeah.
Our time zone, actually.
Yeah. Well, and we sort of talked about, what he's done at Breitling and, what the Navitimer means and what he's done with it, all that jazz. So we'll get to that in a second. But before that, Andy, you asked about the mood on the ground in Geneva. I don't know, mate. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. We didn't make it this year, Felix.
Yeah, and also, to be fair, we're also recording this like a couple of days before it all kicks off. So if you came here for the hot new Rolex Spice Takes, you got to wait till like next week.
Yeah, or a bonus episode or something.
Yes, but no, we as we had previously stated, we were going to be in Geneva. We were going to be on the ground. We were very excited for a hot minute there, but then it all sort of fell apart. Is a strong word. But we decided in the end there were a few factors involved, but wasn't the best decision for us at this time. Plus, I don't know about you, but I'm very comfortable in my working from home uniform.
Yeah, we're just doing what we've always done for the last 2 years, which is recording from the comfort of our home offices in hopefully pants. I'm not too sure.
Sure. Yeah. Let's say pads. Let's go with that.
Without listening to the interview, seems like a guy who's really proved himself over the last how long has he been at Breitling? 3-4 years?
Yeah, I think coming up on 5. I think we may have even talked about that.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you did, but from the outside looking in and having also seen some of the new collection, he's done a good job. He's legitimately done a good job at with his time at Breitling. So it's going to be pretty cool to see what the next 5 years hold for him.
Oh, mate, it's like you've read my questions.
Oh. I definitely assisted on those.
Oh, dearie me. Hey, but it's not just about the Navitimer. There's been drama aplenty, and some of the drama that we can talk about because it happened prior to Watches and Wonders. A little collaboration between two small brands you probably haven't heard about. Omega and Swatch.
Swatch and Omega, the MoonSwatch.
Yeah.
Craziness. Absolute madness.
So if you've been living under a rock, saw some of the early coverage and threw your phone away from you in disgust, which are, both entirely reasonable takes on the matter. Swatch and Omega have part of the same group, Swatch Company. They've teamed up for a series of collaborative watches, like they're made from bioceramic, which is sort of Swatch's recyclable ceramic material. They are taking the form of the Speedy, of course. It's quartz movement, about 42 millimeters. There's like a bunch of them, like one for every planet.
It's like 9 or something.
Yeah, sure. And
what is bioceramic, Felix? Is that it's already been recycled? Or
I believe so. Well, I think ceramic is fundamentally recyclable anyway, isn't it? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
We should have read the press release. So they did 9 watches. I like that I think they included Pluto in the list. That was a nice
nod
to the OG dwarf planet. And things got a little bit crazy.
Yeah, it's absolute scenes all over the world. I've not seen a release like this.
Two things to be aware of. So they've limited it's physical purchase only, limit 2 per customer. But this is Swatch. This is not a limited edition. It's limited. It'll be limited production. Obviously, everything is, but it's not like we're only going to do this for 6 months. There's no indication of that. Like this is
they're very clear in saying it's going to be online. It's unlimited.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, and think about it. You do not make a ceramic case at this price point, which is like $250 bucks or $300 Aussie,
I think it's like closer to 400 Aussie. It's
or whatever it is,
250
under
francs. Yeah.
$400, you cannot do that unless you do a normal scale,
And
which
that's what
means tens of thousands of each variation.
Swatch don't turn on the lights in the factory unless they're doing less than 10,000, you know? Like,
Oh, I would think at a minimum, it'd be like 50,000 units per color or something. Like, it's going to be enormous.
yeah.
So
So what are they currently listing on Chrono 24, Andy?
they're anywhere from like 600-700 to 3-4 grand.
More,
You've seen more. I saw a
5K.
joke that was like $12,000 where people were making predictions, but I haven't.
I saw 5K for the top.
It's so stupid. It's so silly and so impatient. It is interesting though, the volume of people, because I don't know that they were all necessarily like hardcore watch enthusiasts that were sort of
No.
turning out, camping out, hoping to make a quick buck flipping it.
No, I would suspect most of them weren't. I would suspect that there's people like we spoke to bloody TGE London, and
Mm,
he has a business plan around what's got to be hot and what's got to flip and
yeah.
what's going to. So I'm sure that pinged on those sort of Reddit threads, and people are just doing it because they can make money off it.
Yeah, I just don't see anyone who's seriously into watches kind of finding it worthwhile, like, sleeping out overnight to try and get a $350 Swatch watch.
I mean, there's some. I mean, if I was a psychologist, I'd have some fascinating things to say about like herd mentality and all that sort of
Mm,
stuff. But my brother's texting me about it.
yeah.
Shout out to Morgan. He's like, "Oh, what
Well,
do you think? Do you like this one?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's got to be crazy. Just wait 6 months."
no, I don't even think wait 3 months.
Yeah,
They keep saying, and they reduced the purchasing limit to one per customer. I
yeah,
think
right.
the handful of posts that I've seen it was 150 units per store, and obviously that sold out in about 13 minutes. But
Mm.
police have been called.
Yeah, like and across like Shadston, they were breaking up the crowd like everywhere. Like this is not just like one or two places.
This
It's
is like worldwide camping out. This is a phenomenon. This is insane. I don't think. Can you remember anything like it?
Apple watches. Sorry, Apple phones is the
Yeah,
thing that
iPhones
like early
masses.
iPhones is the only thing I compared it to.
I mean, I think we joked about late last year when a new Rolex store opened in Melbourne, and there were people lined up from 7 a.m. in the morning trying to get in because I guess they assumed that there would just be stock on the floor,
Mm.
and it was just take your pick. But even like luxury brands, I don't think we've ever seen this in watches before. So, I mean, well
And
done, Swatch. You've caused absolute chaos.
maybe it's because Swatch isn't a luxury brand.
Yeah,
So my main question about this, and I find it really, really fascinating, and there's some obvious answers, but I still think it's worth digging into. Why did Omega and Swatch do it?
yeah.
What do you think?
I think Amiga's trying to steal the show that they're not at. That's my
Mm,
prediction, right? Because a couple of weeks ago, everyone was talking about their entire suite of new releases, launched sort
mm,
of 2-3 weeks out from Watches and Wonders, and then the dust settled,
mm,
and then they do it again, and it's all everyone's talking about. And what are we? The 27th of March. The fair starts in 3 days.
mm.
I think it's I think it's just PR.
Well, that's the timing, but
Mm,
that's they're not going to make a significant thing like that. My thing, just for the sake of PR, they've got to do it because it makes sense. My take on it is that Swatch must be hurting
mm,
because, as we all know, the Apple Watch is the largest watch seller in the world, um, and at a price very competitive with what Swatch offer. And they've tried a few things, like they've tried, System 51, they've tried, bioceramic in other lines. They've sort of been refreshing all their bits and pieces, but I reckon they would be, and everyone in that, sort of more consumer watch price will be hurting because of Apple watches and smartwatches in general. Like, if you're a kid, if you're going to buy a watch, are you going to buy one that can track your fitness, or are you going to buy one that just tells the time for the
yeah,
same
and I
price?
guess the System 51 was pretty popular, a few years ago when that came
Yeah,
out as well. That was pretty big.
yeah. So I think it's a partnership that benefits Swatch far more than Amiga.
Mm.
I don't think Amiga has any real problems with the Moonwatch. It's might not be the most exciting watch of all time all the time, but it is their largest seller, I would suspect, by a fair margin. I think Swatch is the partner in that sort of couple that gets the most out of it, and maybe it does reinvigorate Amiga a little bit, but it also potentially cheapens Amiga in a very real way. Like this is
Well, it's a $400 watch, and it looks like a $400 watch in every photo
and
or
it
video
says
I've
Amiga
seen.
on the dial.
Yeah, it like that case looks like you recycle it. It looks like the battery stops or the movement stops, and you throw it in the recycling bin.
Well, that's fundamental. Swatch don't do repairable. Like that's their whole concept. They're disposable product in a
Yeah,
way.
exactly,
Like,
and it looks like that. So it's kind of like, and that's the exact reason I wouldn't buy it, because I have no reason or
and
place for it.
also in the last 10 years, and how many people keep a
Yeah,
watch for more than
it's
10
true.
years
It'd be a great
anyway.
like intro to watches gift. Someone turning
I think it's
15 or
fun.
16.
I think it's just fun. Like, I mean,
It is fun,
it
but I
is
would
a
never
lot.
wear it.
And the other thing we were talking about before with the listings, like 4-5K, you get a real watch for 7,600 Aussie. Like that's I think the entry RRP for the full size Speedy at the moment.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, did you see Tiffany and Co's latest Instagram post?
I did when you sent it to
Oh,
me with a series of expletives.
Jesus, FC. We believe in the
Jesus,
future of NFTs and are excited to continue our long-standing partnership with Tom Sachs with our acquisition of T Rockets Factory.
tell me,
Um,
tell me what this is. This is not a visual medium, Andy. I don't know if you've picked this up 2 years
so
in.
Tiffany did an Instagram post announcing that they've acquired, it looks like an art factory or someone who does NFTs, because they really believe in NFTs. And the picture is a Tiffany blue, really janky drawing of a rocket.
Is it a rocket?
With perfect rocket written on the photo, Rocket Factory Perfect Rocket. And
Tom Sachs.
yeah, and Tom Sachs on there as well. And it's bizarre. Like there's a war going on with rockets and shelling happening all over Ukraine, and it is an odd move. Like someone's just commented, "Hello, today I spent the day in a bomb shelter in Ukraine because Russia is shelling us with rockets. Are you serious about this art?"
Even besides that, take the war out of
Yeah,
the picture. Look how did bloody Jeff Bezos's rocket launch go?
exactly.
Like, is this? I mean, but I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I just don't. It just makes Tiffany just takes a step, a peg down the ladder every time I see them do something like this. Their creative direction at the moment is truly bizarre. They're
Mm.
like the rich kid at the party who can just pay to do cool stuff. And if they didn't have the money, I don't think that anyone would really want to do this stuff with them.
Shout out to Alexander Arnault.
Anyway,
NFTs. I mean, like the whole thing is.
bizarre,
We live in fascinating times, Andy.
bizarre.
Fascinating times.
This week's episode is proudly brought to you by Artem Straps, Australia's premier watch strap manufacturer. Felix, you've been running around with an Artem lately on a pretty interesting watch. Tell me all about it.
Well, the running doesn't bother me because it's the one of their sailcloth straps,
Mm-hmm.
and sweat doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Just wicks
Weeks away.
doesn't wick right off. But so their sailcloth straps, I'm running it on a few watches at the moment, but the one I've been wearing recently is the Nomos.
Mm-hmm.
Looks great. Like I think this sailcloth strap, you typically sort of put it on a really sporty watch, but it goes a bit dressy too, which I appreciate. So as we've said, Artem straps, really premier quality. They're known for their sailcloth straps. Also check out their NATOs, which are top notch, and you can find them all at artemstraps.com.
Yeah, it's a fantastic strap, truly, from the finer details on the stitching to the buckles to the various clasp options. They do have it all. And chatting with the guys, they're keen on expanding their collection. So give them a follow on Instagram and make sure you kind of leave some feedback there. Let them know what you're interested in seeing from them,
Yeah, I'm
colors,
sure.
styles, sizes, because they are a relatively new brand. But Artem Dot Straps is their Instagram. We've
Nice.
also found a whole bunch of really nice press about them as well. So you can kind of learn more from a bunch of, there's dozens of articles on them now. Everyone from the Grey NATO to Gear Patrol, Fratello. So yeah, they're legit. Thank you, Artem. Let's get back to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it turns out turquoise is also a very popular color for keyboards. Felix, I was telling you, there's HBMX. We dropped a turquoise keyboard picture on Instagram, and it blew up. People love
This is
turquoise.
your
The hobby,
your
yeah.
hobby engagement.
Yeah, it's popular color. Turquoise is continued on from 2020 into 2021, and apparently 2022. People just cannot get enough of turquoise.
Well, as you know, I'm looking at getting a new iMac.
Mm,
Do I get? There's a blue option.
do it.
Is it a Tiffany blue? Could I then
Nah.
hawk it out the front for a massive premium? Can you imagine if Apple did a Tiffany blue product?
I'm sure it's been pitched to them.
I'm sure their
I'm
lawyers
honest. I'm sure it's been.
their
I'm sure
lawyers are
they've
like,
been.
nope,
No,
not
thank
worth
you.
it. Anyway, you got anything else?
Nah.
I think we should stop waffling. We should stop waffling, and we should get Georges Kern on the line. And as we've said, Breitling is our sponsor for this week and the next few weeks. So check out breitling.com or head to your local boutique to see the new Navitimers, IRL, and all their other watches. It's a fascinating collection and one we're going to dig into in more detail in the coming
weeks.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's do it.
I'm flying 20 hours to Australia, and you're sitting in Melbourne, and I'm sitting in Sydney. Are you kidding me?
Look, at least we're in the same time zone.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Now, I hear this is your first time in Australia.
Absolutely. As I cannot travel to any other Asian country, I thought I would go to Australia. Whilst it took me weeks to get the visa.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm not sure if you were planning to have a stealthy visit down here, but I've seen you on Australian Facebook watch groups helping people with when they pick up their watches from service. It sounds like you're working in the boutique and, putting in the hard yards.
Yeah. Well, no. I met that gentleman yesterday in the boutique by chance.
There's no escaping Australian watch fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you've been here for a few days and you've visited Melbourne and you're in Sydney now, yeah?
Yeah.
I've got perhaps the most important question that I'm going to ask you. Melbourne or Sydney?
That's an unfair question because no, I would say Australia. I want to next time I want to spend more time. Sydney reminds me a little bit Cape Town, funnily enough.
Yeah, sure.
Because you have the water, the waterfront, and the way the whole thing is. No, Sydney is as I said, reminds me a little bit of Cape Town. Melbourne is in a way, I don't know, more English city. When from the spirit. And no, both cities are interesting. The country is a discovery. You have an amazing and cool and relaxed and privileged lifestyle here, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. And have you managed to do you surf?
No,
I know you've got a squad, but do you surf?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think it would be very embarrassing to say that I'm surfing. No.
Well, at least you can enjoy the surf, and I think that's a really good answer about Sydney and Melbourne. I like to say Sydney's a better place to visit, but if you want to live somewhere, live in Melbourne. And I don't know what I might have just angered your team there. But I did want to ask you about how your journey at Breitling has been so far, because it's been about 5 years since you.
A little bit more than 4 years. No, it has been amazing. It has been amazing from a personal point of view, from a brand development point of view, from a shareholder's point of view, from a personal point of view, because you're very independent. When you work with private equity, it's very different than being in a corporation. You're an entrepreneur. You have to invest, but you run the business totally and completely, which is very different from a big group where you're embedded in many structures, committees, and what have you. So from a personal point of view, it is amazing. Then from a brand development point of view, it's also, we have been growing like crazy over the last years. We are now, I would say, within the 5, 6, 7 biggest brands in the world. When I look at the turnovers, and as you know, we have now a minority shareholder. We did a deal with Partners Group, so at a very nice valuation. So it's also I would say a reward towards what we have been doing, and it shows that the investors have a huge trust in what we're doing and in our development plans.
Yeah. So over that time, I mean, you've just listed off a long list of positives. What would you personally, and this can be from any sort of metric, where, you know, business, product, your own self-growth, what is the thing you've been most proud of over the last 4 or so years?
Of course you do, you make mistakes, but fundamentally, I think we are now today more truthful to the brand than what the brand ever was, because as you know, we really came back and included in our collections also products from the 30s, you know, with the, or 40s, what Willy Breitling did, you know, with the Premier. The Airland Sea is something which we haven't invented, which always existed. I think today we're using the full capacity, the full potential of the brands in different styles. We are a generalistic brand, you know, we are offering from SUVs to convertibles to coupes. We're a real journalistic brand. And I think also the positioning of being relaxed, cool, inclusive. If you look at our boutiques, our squads, all this fits, and I think is a huge differentiating factor. We want to be the cool and relaxed alternatives to the more established brands. And I think the whole journey was just, even though we did mistakes, was going into the right direction. I mean, we changed everything versus what we found 4 years ago, which was a risk, but not really a risk, because as I said, we came back to what we really were over 80 years. And I think we have, from a strategic point of view, we did the right thing. And I think from an implementation point of view, in terms of creative execution, we are doing extremely well, and our design team has been doing an incredible job. So the package just worked, and it's good to see that as an independent brand, you can basically fight and beat many of the big group brands and take the market share. And we've seen it, by the way, during COVID, that the independent brands were the ones outperforming the more corporate brands.
Yeah, right. And you've mentioned or you've referenced there, you made mistakes along the way in that journey. What you know was your biggest challenge coming into the role, or what would you have maybe done differently with hindsight?
And the challenge when you join a company like this is changing the culture, you know, just pushing the boat into another direction. When I joined, I was alone. You have not your team. Of course, there's a team, but it's not your team. There's skepticism towards your ideas from everywhere, from retailers, from journalists, from your staff,
consumers.
Of course, customers. Oh my God, etc. And I always said to everybody, the only proof is that we need to win the game. And when you win the game, there's no discussion how you won the game. Sure. You just have to win. And all the rest is just debate. It's just an opinion, but you need to score. And this is what we have been doing.
And so you seem to be, you know, Breitling is in a great spot. You know, like you've said, it seems to have all those sort of boxes ticked. What is on your mind? What's keeping you up for the future? Like, what are you stressing about or looking forward to, you know, in the next few years of development? And
I think we need to adapt to the new consumer behavior. I remember when I joined the watch industry 25 years ago, it was all about the movement, you know, the complications, blah, blah, blah. Today, the movement or the quality is a conditio of success. Nobody's asking about the quality of the leather of a Hermes Kelly bag. I mean, it's part of what people want is the image, is the design, are the emotions. People buying today first brand, and then a design, and then a technology. And the technology or the quality is a conditio sine qua non. And if you don't have the quality or the movement, you cannot build a big brand. So it's an inverse situation towards what I've seen and experienced 25 years ago, when I started also to work with Günther Blümlein, when he was, when we bought Georges IWC and Lang & Söhne, was totally different than today. And today you buy a lifestyle, an emotion, a design, and what I would call a new normal in our industry, meaning 5 to 10 years guarantee, a second time zone, big data. You have components in a product which must be there, like in the car industry 25 years ago, where suddenly you had 4-wheel drives, airbags, radio, etc. So we have also kind of new normal coming towards us with guarantee, what people just expect, but it's not a differentiating factor anymore.
And where does sustainability fit into that mix?
No, it's key. There's no way you can run a company today, any company, and I've seen it during the due diligence of all the funds when we did the minority sale. There's no way you can do anything without a proper ESG policy. And when I say proper, it's a very sophisticated ESG policy. So environment, social, and governance. And we do a lot. We have published our first sustainability report, which you can find on our website. I mean, we started from zero, to be honest. There was nothing in place, and now we have a whole team working on that. We have ambitious plans for the future at any of these levels. And in the digital age, everything is transparent. You cannot hide. Right? You cannot hide mistakes. You cannot hide materials, CO2 footprints, what have you, sourcing, and it has to be perfect. You cannot go from black to white, right? So at a certain stage, you're in a gray zone. I think we did huge progresses, but it's not good enough. We want to be plastic free. We want to be carbon neutral. Actually, we want to be zero carbon also in our history, blah, blah, blah. But it will take another 3-4 years. Yeah. We've introduced the blockchain as a first company in the industry, not only for authenticity and traceability, but also to feed then the blockchain with the sourcing so that the consumer knows, okay, where is this steel coming from? What is the CO2 footprint of that watch? Where are the bracelets coming from? Blah, blah, blah. So consumers deserve the transparency, and we'll give them the transparency.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you've mentioned a few times sort of about the changing watch landscape or marketplace. And I think that's something that a lot of people are concerned with at the moment. Like, we're seeing a situation where, it's impossible to get those, some of those hot models. Prices, like retail price, bears no sort of relationship with market value. Is this situation, is it good for Breitling? Is this like the new normal now, or do you think we're going to see a correction and people, come back to reality?
So what I think is that indeed you have a concentration more and more, like in any other industry in the world, towards a couple of brands. How many relevant car manufacturers do you have? You have Audi, Volkswagen, Mercedes, Porsche. You have 1 or 2 Americans, 1 or 2 Asians, but that's it.
Yeah.
How many fashion companies, relevant fashion companies, have you? How many watch manufacturers do you have? You have 6, 7, 8 brands making 80-90% of the turnover. So this is due to globalization, because we're all listening to Spotify, to the same top 10 songs, etc. You lose in diversity, which is a shame. But this is the consequence of globalization. And the second phenomenon now with COVID is that, first of all, you have a catch-up effect. People were not traveling, were not buying cars, were not buying real estate. And second, people in a crisis situation want to buy secured values, no risks. And even more, they concentrate towards established brands or brands with some power. And in that context, thank God, because we are in the absolute right price point, between $3,000 and $15,000, and because we have the history, and because we have the firepower, we have the means to invest, etc. And because we did many things right, as I explained earlier, suddenly we've been gaining dramatically in market share over the last weeks and months. Yeah.
Speaking of the right history, I want to talk for a minute about the Navitimer, which is 70 years old.
Yeah.
And it was created as a sort of a pretty cutting edge piece of functional, design. It was the smartwatch of its day in a way.
Yeah.
What does it stand for today?
So I think none of these functions, these traditional functions, are really relevant today for daily use. So a tourbillon had a function at that time to be more accurate, but any quartz watch from Hong Kong is more accurate than the most sophisticated tourbillon from the biggest brands.
Sure.
Nobody's diving at 3,000 meters. Nobody's using the bezel to calculate speed or distance with a Navitimer. But people still want to have that function because it represents, so first of all, it works. You can still do it. You can still do the calculation. But it is an image. It is a statement. And I think people like that emotion and like that history and like these roots and that spirit, I would say, of aviation, of the 50s to the 70s, mainly the good old days. Navitimer standing for the good old days of civil aviation. I mean, This was when you were really flying first class overseas and not with Ryanair for $99 from Zurich to New York, right? It's a different feeling. And I think these represents value. This is why people are still buying analog watches, by the way, and not only digital watches. These represent a certain state of mind and I would say real values in an overkill in a digital age, I would say, because everything is digital and people, humankind has its limits when dealing with technology. Some people are stressed by it, and why do you need a digital watch if you can have everything on your iPhone? Then you wear your analog watch. And this is why I think this is one of the reasons why analog watches are booming. I mean, it's booming all over the world, including with the super young generation. So when people say, I think it's a kind of contra phenomenon to the super digitalization. And then people want the real values, the good old days when everything was okay. Today you wake up, every morning there's a new disaster, COVID, fires, oil in Peru. Every morning you have another disaster. And I think this is why you have so many people having burnouts, because it's overwhelming. Some people cannot intellectually deal with the stress in business, insecurity of corona, of jobs, of money, of life, of family, of disasters, of natural disasters, of wars, Taiwan, etc. And having an analog watch is something beautiful, right? It gives some reassurance, like any analog stuff, like art, like sculptures, like I read that during COVID, people redecorated their houses, were doing their gardens, etc. So all this you have to also adjust to humankind. We're not robots.
Yeah, I think that's really true, and I think that's not just the Navitimer. That's the entire sort of sector, which I wonder, if a lot of brands have similar sort of history and similar models and in their catalogs, how will the Navitimer continue to remain apart, or how does it carve out its own piece of the pie?
I mean, you will see the product, I guess, in a week or so. We're sending the products around, and we're launching it, as you know, end of March. So first of all, the look, because the bezel, the whole look will remain what it is and what it was. We have obviously, in a way, funnily enough, it's now based much more on the 60s design. So it's much flatter case and much flatter dial. But for me, it's much more modern than the current watch, even if it's more inspired by the 50s or the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes it different is the look. I mean, what makes all these iconic products different, the Royal Oak or the, Reverso or Tonk, it's the look at the end of the day. And it's like the Porsche 911. The look is the look, and this makes it unique, and will always make it unique and always make it distinctive. But you have to make it evolve. The 911 doesn't look like 30 years ago in the same way as it is today. And for instance, we will have only B01 movements. So it's totally in-house movements, open case bags. So also in terms of technology, it has been evolving. But the look and the spirit remains, whilst you have to make it evolve, and also from a technology point of view, make it evolve. I think it will be a phenomenal hit.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've seen some early sort of indications. And I think it'll be very, very cool. I'm really excited to see them in the real. Yeah. One last quick question. Not about watches at all. Do you have something that you have been enjoying, like something you've been reading, something you've been watching, that you would want anyone else listening to this to follow up on or get into?
I mean, there are a couple of things I'm enjoying. So first of all, as you know, I'm a big movie fan. The best movie I've seen over the last 2 years, I mean, it's difficult because there were no productions, is Nomadland. I can only recommend everybody to watch it. I mean, it's a phenomenal movie with incredible actors. Incredible. I'm just watching the 4th season of Ozark. It's nuts, but I love it.
I think I stopped around season 2. Does it get only more crazy?
It's getting more crazy, but it's so brilliant. And I loved also Succession. I mean, I loved it because they're all bastards in the series. There's not one single person you can actually like. But otherwise, I think you in Australia and I'm a cyclist, so I like cycling and I like spending time outdoor. Thank God we never were in lockdowns like you guys, so we could be outdoor all the time in Switzerland, and what we enjoyed. But I think life is about carpe diem, right? Enjoy the moment, and then you have your hobbies, but doing sports and being outdoor, I think is something, especially in Australia, I understand everybody's doing, and you're very, very, very lucky to have that lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%. So thank you for coming down. Next time, hopefully, we can see each other in person.
Absolutely.
And please make it more frequent visits.
And I can't wait to get your comments from my team when you have the new Navitimer in hand.
Can't wait. Thank you so much, Georges.
Thanks.
Well, Felix, great opportunity to speak to the big man himself. It sounds like there's going to be a lot to talk about in terms of Breitling in the coming weeks, and I'm excited.
I'm going to be DMing him about the next series of Succession when it comes out. We'll share our thoughts and theories.
Well, thank you, Breitling, for supporting today's episode. We truly appreciate it. If you want to check out all those fantastic watches, head to breitling.com. If you want to check out our fantastic show notes or pictures or anything, email us, otthepodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on Instagram, ot.podcast. Of course, join our Discord, which we will link up in the show notes. And
definitely should have plugged that 4 times earlier.
Yeah, it's not. There's a whole hot takes channel where you can just vent all of your frustrations. And if you like OT, leave a 5-star review, subscribe to your friends,
leave a comment. I don't know, just some sort of engagement
stuff
to pump us up the algorithm.
Yeah, let's do it. Anyway, next week we will see you then.
Arrivederci.